You're talking about a process that will get rid of all of that so that we're operating on, in your words, clean energy to have a better life.
Exactly. You had a brilliant way of saying, like, all the tasks that we have to do, all the problems that we're facing, all the problems outside and inside, if we're approaching it from an operating system that isn't working functionally or efficiently.
Jeremy, welcome to the show.
Really glad to be here, man.
Same here. I've been excited to talk to you. You are the co-creator of Imagination Technology. What is that?
So, imagination technology is a operating system for the human mind, and it's really addressing a new kind of definition or an expanded definition about what clean energy means. So, and I saw Elon's vision for a multiplanetary future and Tesla with sustainable energy and this kind of clean energy movement that a lot of people care about. I cared about it too, but even working at SpaceX, I saw something was missing in clean energy, and that was human energy. Clean energy is defined as the external climate, pollution, sustainable, all external stuff. All great for the movement to clean energy, but I didn't see anything that was actually addressing human energy, clean human energy. And when I investigated that and started to research that, I saw it was the operating system that was the cause of what I would call dirty energy in human beings. The stresses, the anxieties, the bottlenecks of pain and negative worldviews. And imagination technology is a new operating system to help clean human energy.
Interesting. So basically, instead of talking about the energy that we use to power things in our life, coal and oil, you're talking about internal energy that sustains life itself and
Human.
quantifying that as good energy versus bad energy or unclean energy. So the stresses and the anxieties and things that cause depression or high blood pressure, all those things just log us down and slow us down. You're talking about a process that will get rid of all of that so that we're operating on, in your words, clean energy to have a better life.
Exactly. You had a brilliant way of saying, like, all the tasks that we have to do, all the problems that we're facing, all the problems outside and inside, if we're approaching it from an operating system that isn't working functionally or efficiently, it's going to hold us back from our highest performance to meet those tasks, to handle whatever it is that we want to handle. And that's where getting to the operating system is the way to do it. And especially by asking the big question, what is the fuel of human energy? And that is to me, to us, is passion. That's what sets us apart.
I love it. I love it. The concept of being able to achieve peak performance through the energy sources and the types of energy that we truly need versus getting rid of the things that we don't need. That's what it's all about. When you're working with clients and you've just onboarded a new one and they come to you with a combination of clean energy and unclean energy that they don't need, what are some of the common characteristics that you see lie amongst most of them? What are some overlapping features?
I would say they are definitely into personal development. They want better performance in some avenue of their life, whether that be like work-life balance itself, relationships. I did have a question that came up that I wanted to ask you, because motivation seems, when I was talking to you, seemed pretty important to you. And that, when we meet motivation with why people come and want a new operating system, they're being hindered by something. Bottlenecked is my favorite word for that. Resistance. We all have our different kind of interface with how we define our challenges, our problems, our themes. But the people that come to come back to the question is, they want to evolve and they care about the quality of their energy.
What do you think is in their way of this evolution? Because intrinsically, we all know what we need to do.
Yes.
Right? Logically, most of the problems that we face in life, solutions are rather simple. But
yes.
The motivation factor of it is sometimes, or the emotional aspect of things, are sometimes the blockers that stops us from getting there. Right. So when you dig deep with your clients, What is it in that emotional block, in the energy state of things that you think is the blocker for them? And how do you help them overcome it?
It's interesting because like classically we would approach that from a problem fix dynamic. Like, what are the problems? How do I fix it? But if I were to just take a second and step back from this and approach it, if I had a Windows 95 computer on my desk right here, and it's a combination of hardware, software of a computer, and I'm like, God, this is so slow. Like, how do I make this go faster? Oh, I can start to maybe some programs, or it's still clunky, it's still slow, it's still buggy, it's still crashing, and I'm trying to make it faster. But it's not capable of going faster or processing better, calculating better, computing better. That's why we're going to the operating system. So the quote unquote problems, or what you're asking there, is it's not necessarily that all the things in front are what need to be fixed. It's that the way you're currently operating is from a fear and survival fuel. The motivation is threat and fear and survival. And that's where the operating system is coming from. That's like the starting position. And so that's why it's inefficient. That's why you're met with all of the struggle, the frustration, the inadequacies, the whatever it is. So when you go to the operating system level and you question how these conditionings and programmings and all the combination in evolution, the nature, the nurture, and even to the soul level themes and things like that, then you're getting to the root of changing the way that you're operating so that you can experience a massive shift in the frequency of your consciousness, the better energy.
That's really interesting. So when you're talking about the analogy you used, which is a Windows 95 computer, right? That computer was coded to be a certain way at a certain time. Over
Yes.
time now, it's not good anymore because things need to be faster. So in the same analogy, when you're working with people who want to go to the next level, the belief systems they have, the blockers they have, the operating system that they come to you with already,
Yes.
how do you think that operating system is put in place? Why did they get where they are in life?
Oh man, that's a massive question of natural selection, of primitive survival mindsets. Go back into as far as animal awareness, right? The threat, always on guard, fight or flight is that motivator there. Oof. It's all the ways that fear meant that you were the fittest is what's been passed down, and intelligence has been applied and expanded too. Because if we used fear to survive, and that's what made us fit to survive as far back as you want to go there, then that's the trait that was passed down and amplified or compounded with new intelligence. And so all of a sudden we're here in such a faster era of our evolution and a higher intelligence capabilities, but we're still running as if we are under threat of our survival all the time. And that's why the fight or flight is always active. Our nervous system is always on high alert, even when our surroundings are calm. The anxieties, the stresses are in our mind. And so that's why really seeing the difference between the brain and the mind, hardware, software, helps us understand that self-conscious way of operating and to address the identity structure itself, which is in terms of a comfort zone that we're designed to protect for our own survival, is a very scary prospect in evolution. But that's where the freedom and the healing actually are accelerated when you can experiment with that.
So it's in a way like what you're saying is millions of years of evolution has coded us to be a certain way. And the coding is basically a result of willingness to survive, which comes in the form of fight or flight. And this is primitive, and this is therefore causing us to live life a certain way. But the mechanisms that you are offering through imagination technology is now able to override that and be able to live a little bit differently.
Yes. Yes. Override is a good word. I would also, if I'm in that personal development, passion for personal development, we want that challenge to our intelligence. It's that challenge to apply to stretch our comfort zone is I feel what we're looking for in personal development, rather than just being given all this information on top of an old paradigm, old operating system, and piling all the information on, and then you're told apply, make the change happen. It's that counter culture is how can we be challenged in a way that does ignite that passion of, oh, yeah, this comfort zone is because I'm afraid to step outside by the threat, the death that might be on the other side that I don't know. But if that appeal or that attraction to the challenge to my identity for a more authentic self, for a more natural self, you can start to experiment with how to change how you're operating, especially if you don't like how you're currently operating. If you're frustrated by how you handle situations, how you respond or react in negative ways, and you don't want to do that, or all the habits that are formed from all that old coding and the way you were trained and conditioned to do that, it's the challenge to your evolution to consciously evolve rather than be a victim to the random natural selection where you have no agency.
So if I'm listening to this and I'm thinking, okay, what Jeremy makes says is making sense. The way I exist right now, it's because of the million years of evolution, the programming that is already in me. I know I need to get to the next level because I'm unhappy. Right.
Yes.
I just don't know how to. He's talking about personal development. So I guess I should just go for a personal development program. That's not what you do. Right. The way imagination technology works is different than a
Yes.
regular personal development program. So
Yes.
tell us a little bit about how it's different.
So I can break it down into 4 different like features here that I think are really powerful. The first being it's powered by imagination. We use your imagination as a technology. We treat it as a technology that allows you to like tap into a more pure, sustainable inner energy source. So the imagination as the tool here. The next would be what I've termed it the unphilosophy process. These are a set of theories that I've brought through that are almost counterculture to traditional evolution and ways of operating that challenge the polluted ways that you're currently operating. And because we need to address the underlying beliefs and values that shape your whole worldview. These things go towards meeting that old operating system and challenging it, right? Because it's like that side by side. We have to see the old one and the new one side by side. So we have a clear choice of, oh, yeah, survival of the fittest. It did serve a purpose, but it's inefficient now. The way it's operating is clunky. I want the best performance. The next would be rather than us telling you what to do, how to evolve, what the right way to do it is. The unphilosophy kind of strips that down, allows you to find your own philosophy, and then you're in charge of the knob, of the intensity of your evolution. It invites your active participation to use this new operating system, to apply this new operating system toward healing, freedom, mastery, everything that goes along with your peak performance, right? Like those are the main things. And then the last, and I feel, of course, I love what I brought with the unphilosophy, but this to me, the last thing is like where I feel we're the most different. And that's sub growth, not additive growth. So a lot of the personal development is in success is like additive, more money, more success, like it's added, more information gather, and that's like wealth classically. But our approach is opposite of that. We're not here to add information to your plate. We help you subtract to clear the mental clutter, the noise, the old traumas, the old habits, because we're about creating the space to shift your state of being, to make what appeared to be problems and tasks. I love how you said that when we were talking. It changes how they feel, how you experience them, how you interface with them, your relationship to them, because we're elevating, enhancing the frequency of your consciousness by cleaning your energy. The same way that if you have a fuel for the car, there are different octanes that you can, different purities, right? So it's about subtracting all the impurities, all the negativities and fears out of the fuel so that the whole performance of your body, your mind, spirit, hardware, software, user can function much more optimally, much more passionately.
What I really like about what you said is that the whole unlearning aspect of things and especially the rotating the dial is dependent on me as
Yeah.
to how fast I want to go. Having gone through several personal development programs myself and having had clients who have gone through it, one thing that is always is apparent is it's a cookie cutter program. You buy a personal development program and Joe from Atlanta is doing the same program as Rahim from Pakistan. Right. Two completely different people, two completely different cultures, two completely different upbringing, sets of experiences, but somehow they're both supposed to use the same program. So tell us a little bit about how your program is more unique to the individual to jam somebody into something.
Ooh, that's a really good question. Because I have such a distaste for the cookie cutter. And that went, so I've been researching and developing this operating system for close to 15 years in terms of getting it to be where it is. And when I'm meeting my aim, both as an artist and a scientist, and I'm fully seeing and crediting like what I was after, I wouldn't have wanted anything cookie cutter myself. So there wasn't a universal aspect to this that I was after, and the elegance that honors individuality while also addressing unity. And those are almost competing ideas, but through it being an unphilosophy and an operating system. Here's a good example. Apple wants to make the best, let's say, laptop and Mac OS that they can possibly make, but they're not here to tell you how to be creative with it. They just want to give you the best operating system so that you can be the best creative possible. That's how I feel about this. We're not here to tell you how to use your operating system. I'm just excited and care that you have the best operating system so that you can experience the cleanest, most powerful energy possible and quality of life possible. And I hope that it gets to what you're asking there, that because that's how I feel. Is it's not here to tell you what to do, how to be, how to function, but it is like giving you an Apple laptop and saying, this is the best tool to be creative. Imagination technology as an operating system is the best operating system to consciously evolve. And the passion company behind it is the best environment to consciously evolve in, the best space.
It's so profound what you're saying because so many of us, especially in the entrepreneurial space, basically the entire audience for this podcast, we don't even know what it is to live without anxiety. We don't even know what it is to live without fear. We don't even know what it is to wake up and not feel like, oh my God, if I don't do X today, Y might happen. And then Y, it obviously like something bad, right?
Yes.
Help us understand through the clients that you've worked with and the experiences that you have had, what it is to live a day without this old operating system. What are the potentials that we are opening up as a result of this type of evolution?
I think this is a great place to talk about my journey because I was my own
Yes.
first test subject with this. And I've been exploring this and seeing how much fear I was in terms of being suffocated by this kind of inner conflict of being so sensitive that I could feel other people's pain and really just empathize on a really sensitive level with a lot of people and the way that how deeply I can feel other people. But that I was also not equipped to be able to process that. And with that came a inability to express my emotions. And so I was this shy, introverted kid with such a chaotic inner world, but I wasn't allowed to express it. Though I wanted to be able to express, I was a huge fan of pro wrestling, still am. We're the larger than life personalities, but I didn't feel allowed to, but I wanted to. And it was that inner conflict, that inner turmoil of that, I call it a negative view because all of those protections and copings of not being able to like feel my feelings or express them just created or learned it's the trifecta: skepticism, cynicism, pessimism. That's the negative view that hardens you to life and doesn't let anything in. And so when I've graduated college and finally turned inward from people pleasing and living for other kind of goals, self-discovery, inventing this operating system and figuring out what it was and the vision for it, I was able to finally learn how to express myself. finally able to let those anxieties be understood and see where they came from, and literally seeing how the survival of the fittest operating system was protecting me and shielding me from all this stuff. It was that inner climate started to clean up as I became more aware of these fear versus love choices and the self-awareness to understand who, what, when, where, how with these emotions. And I started to change how I operated with it. And now I'm creating this company. I was able to talk on stages for Comic-Con with some old projects. So I am hopefully that example of dirty inner pollution and clouded and chaos and all that stuff to hopefully being an example of clean energy, that it's possible and that it's through the fuel. I address the fuel, the passion that I didn't think I had.
This cuts me deep. It deeply resonates with me because, much like your story, I too grew up as a very shy and introverted kid. And so many doubts, so many fears, unjustified fears. I didn't know about why I was afraid of the things I was afraid of. And living like that was frustrating and exhausting at the same time because every single day it was almost like living in a straitjacket. We want to move and we want to be free, but there's this invisible force of old belief systems and the programming of the old operating system that holds us in place, and we're just looking to be free. So as you were telling the story, I was imagining and visualizing being able to break out of that straitjacket, right? Was there a specific defining moment in your life when you just felt like, okay, enough is enough and I need to do something about it?
It's interesting to see if I can put a record needle when that needle was dropped, because I feel there was a combination of factors. Because up until graduating college, and I was working at SpaceX while I was going to college, I had the blinders on. I wasn't allowed to have emotions, quote unquote. Like, it was an autopilot. It was just I was just surviving. And college was like that finish line to that. Okay, just graduate college and then I can start my life was the deal there. And so at that point, that's where I had the first inspiration was therapy. That kind of was the starting point of, okay, everything is in my mind right now. I can't talk about it with anyone because it's not allowed. Like, I can't, like, that's not allowed, quote unquote. So therapy was, I think, the first on-ramp to, oh yeah, I am fed up with this negative worldview. This is not my best. So I would say it was about there, because it was the finally good, crossing the finish line that I was supposed to cross. Now I can focus on myself, right? It was an allowance, but also the frustration at being at the edge of, I don't have a good self-esteem. I don't like myself. I hate myself, but I can't show it. And I would say that's the crossroads right there.
What's incredible to me is that even though you had this struggle and suffering and realization and then research and inner work and came out on the other side of it, you didn't stop. You could have. You had upgraded your own operating system and broken free from the shackles that held you back in your previous life. But you went ahead and took it a step further to develop it even more and make this public for others. Why?
Thank you for framing and asking that. That just gave me all the good vibes there, because this is very current in how I feel I want to respond to this, because I felt so disconnected from myself, but also distant from others. Now I joke about being an astronaut and I own it because I am an astronaut. But before I knew that, it was like there was such a distance between me and other people. And it was hard for me to connect human to human in that way. And so I had this deep care for humanity and love for humanity so deep, but it wasn't allowed to be expressed. So I had to get creative with, okay, it overwhelms me to try to help people one-on-one, because I either get overwhelmed with groups or whatever, or I don't feel like I'm making a difference enough, the inadequacy of that. I'm slowed down by that. And so I had to think outside the box. And the way I did that was, as I mentioned before, science and art and technology. I would consider that science and art, where I am hugely inspired by the peak performance of the greats, artists, scientists. I'm inspired by the greats because their masterpieces are timeless. They live on to this day because of their craft, attention to detail, performance, whatever it is. And that was my North Star. was I didn't know how I was going to reach people. I knew I wanted to, but it was, I want to create a masterpiece. And at first, that was just an inner motivation to be the best that I could be for me. But I didn't know what the vision was of like, okay, I don't know how this is going to impact other people, but I know I want to, but I don't know how to. And that was the guiding force, was as peak artist and scientist, I wanted to create a work that was the best, and that somehow I knew it could help people and make a difference in a really big way. And that's where following the vision and experimenting and trying different things to develop this and learn what it was and the way to communicate it. And that's the R&D. That's why I love R&D, because that's where I now have help to not be a lone wolf with all this invention. It's out of me. Now we have the passion company and the team to take some of my weaknesses of things and use a company to amplify our mission to reduce fear and negativity and clean energy, and treating passion as a basic human need with this new operating system and the whole infrastructure of our operation to scale this beyond just me.
I love how how you said using passion as a basic human need. There's such beauty in that statement. If I'm hearing this and I'm resonating with you on the podcast and I'm thinking, man, I too am in a position that Jeremy was a while ago. I feel stuck. I want to get to the next step. I just don't know how. I've used the conventional personal development program. It doesn't work for me. How do they start working with you?
Easily enough. They can go to our website, and we have, for the operating system itself, we have the DIY or we have a guided upgrade. That's the simplest basic answer there. Is choose your own adventure. You want to do it yourself, we'll deliver the operating system to you. It's a series of actually 5 videos, 3 of which are those theories that I mentioned. And you watch these things and it gives you everything that you need to have the operating system. And then we also have the guided upgrade, where we take you through it high touch over the course of a month, personalized experience to step by step, and address all the personalized kind of confusions and how do I apply this? How do I do it? Or over the course of a month. So that's like the simple answer is those 2 things. If you are an early like I am, where you want the latest and greatest, we have what we're developing called iSelf, which kind of, think about it like it's like a new kind of life support. And life support I'm blurring the lines there of, think life support on a spaceship and the life support like in a hospital. Like, in terms of, we are treating passion as a basic human need. It is the fuel of human energy, and we think it should be treated like water or gas or electricity for human beings to have clean energy for this movement. So iSelf is what we're developing as a ultimate tool for conscious evolution. And so that's the early adopter. We're looking for early access users for that, because that not only includes getting this operating system, as I mentioned, but also tech support for the soul and supporting your conscious evolution to use this operating system. You use water utility to clean water at your house. This is a utility for passion that is there to both supply clean energy to you and to support you having the cleanest energy over the long game of conscious evolution and mastery.
Jeremy, there are many that suffer. There are some that suffer and win, come out on the other side. There's some, even fewer, that suffer, win, come out of the other side, that come out with a determination to want to pass that solution over to others who are suffering just like they were one day. Your life, your work, your testament towards your conviction, right, to wanting to help others. It's apparent through not only the transformational journey that you have made, but also something revolutionary that you have created that is uplifting thousands of lives, possibly millions someday. So thank you for doing what you're doing. It's a pleasure to have you on the show.
And it was great to be here. Thank you for those words. To be seen. Thank you for seeing me, especially because I'm coming out of hiding in that sense of being visible. So thank you for having me.